This is it. We finally made it through our first 9 episodes, and number 10 is right here, signing us off for 2019. I had an absolute blast doing these videos, and I wanted to take a moment to thank you guys for the love and support online leading up to this point. With that being said, let's fire it up one last time in 2019, but with a new intro because I'm stoked.
Coming in, flex, I just wanna win, LABB who we running with, 2, 2, 3, 3, I'm on 10 again, state your name, big dope on flame, I just switched the lanes, damn he did it again, I just flipped the pain, stripping and dipping in bass, slab on everything, swimming you sinking away, cause I got big racks coming, I put
So 2019 was not only an amazing year for SADES TV, but SADES as a global brand was absolutely amazing. We had a chance to make an appearance at a few big events, such as the Saudi Arabian Gamescom and E3 in Los Angeles, but we also saw a follow-up to last year's peripherals with the Sickle, Axe, Revolver, Frost Staff, and the Armor gaming headsets. These peripherals have paved the roads for 2019 to bring you even more amazing new product lines for 2020. I look forward to sharing some insights on these new product lines with you guys, including new Now, 2019 wasn't just hardware either. We actually saw some huge leaps forward from our esports teams who've been taking their competitive gaming to another level. We've seen tremendous growth from our players who have displayed dominance throughout their matches. With our launch into the Canadian and US markets through Amazon, we've seen tremendous growth and look to expand on that even more into the future by offering even more robust, quality-driven products right to your front door with even more giveaways and better product support. Now, this is a topic that I was really hesitant to talk about, especially back in October. So I thought I'd save this one for the last chance to dance, I guess, being the finale that is today. And that's regarding how rocky of a year it's been for gamers. Now, we saw launch after launch after launch after launch after launch. I could do this for like 20 minutes straight of rough games that were released, most notably on the PC, of course. Now, in the grand scheme of things, I made a lot of purchases on games this year because I like to stay up to date as to, in regards to what's going on, and I like to dabble in games when I can, but in those gaming endeavors, I spent easily 40% of my gaming time looking at ways to tweak the game to get it to run properly on my system. Now, I'm not saying that I have a god tier build by any means, but it's pretty damn solid all around and it gets the job done. I mean, now, much like many of you guys, I would make my purchase, preload, whatever the case may be, and I'd start my install. Launch day would come, and of course I'm greeted with errors and bugs and all kinds of gibberish that shouldn't be. I spend even more time now scouring the internet looking for quick fixes or ways to get the game running better without having to sacrifice turning my graphics down or modifying my OS in any way to get things running. Needless to say, instead of finding these hot fixes, I end up finding tens of thousands of threads from people on Reddit complaining and bitching endlessly. Now, before I get any deeper, this isn't a shot at you gamers whatsoever. It's more a shot at the attitudes that take place online in regards to games being half-cooked. But one of the things that really started to bother me were the direct attacks on some of the management for certain companies, and I'm going to name drop one here. Ashton Williams, a senior communications manager for Infinity Ward. This is where it gets worse. Now, I'm not going to get into detail and repeat what was said. You can simply go ahead and check out the Twitter account for yourself and see some of the comments that are still being dropped to this day. It's brutal, and honestly, it's completely uncalled for. Now, for those of you that don't know, typically a senior communications manager's job is to go ahead and relay things like patch notes, quick fixes, basically giving you guys update on any content or changes that are happening to the game, not to take a verbal beatdown. Here's the thing, guys. It's easy to put the blame on the developer of a game, But the internet seems to overlook a few underlining things. Each of these developers, be it Infinity Ward, Bungie, Blizzard, 2K Sports, Rockstar, I mean, we can go on forever, they ultimately need to report to a publisher. And because most of these publishers are publicly traded companies, they end up answering to a boardroom full of shareholders. So when a game comes out half-cooked, that issue isn't completely on the devs, and this is where I gotta kind of side with these cats. The fault kind of lies on a bunch of guys in suits sitting around a table looking to make a quick buck. Those are the guys who ultimately push that red button and initiate the launch, regardless of the state the game's in. At the end of the day, we all want our purchases to be everything we dreamed of, especially when it comes to dropping $60 to $80 on a brand new game every month or so. We're also hoping for a well-polished, optimized game every time, and I get it. It's tiresome dealing with the plagued issues that spring up almost every time with these new releases, from bugs to dev errors, network failure, the list goes on once again. But we as gamers need to direct that anger away from the developers and their social media handles, and really just stop shitting on them so hard. Take it to the big guys in suits by not buying into their hype. Wait it out an extra week or two, or watch some videos to make sure that the game is running up to your standard. A couple other things you can do is go ahead and check out benchmarks. I mean, the day a game is released, benchmark junkies are already out there putting up YouTube videos, and there's a plethora of them. Also check to make sure that there's no user reports of bugs, making sure that there's nothing that's, a game-breaking crash. And for those of you that buy from an online retailer like Steam, make sure that there's a return policy in place so that you can try the game out for an hour or so, and if it isn't up to your standard, go ahead and do a refund, come back to it at a later time. Look, at the end of the day, I'm a consumer no different than you guys are, and I totally get that frustration that comes from buying a half-cooked game. But the reality is that there will always be publishers with a desk full of suits looking out for their shareholders before your needs. Now, for some of you guys, waiting it out isn't always an option. I know there's a lot of games that you wait for, and when it's go time, regardless of the reviews, you want to jump into it because that developer sold you on an idea that made you a believer. I get that. But personal attacks on developers via social media might not be the greatest move. It certainly isn't the coolest of ideas. Now, one of the other things that I noticed quite a lot online, scouring Reddit, was that people seem to really complain about the games running poorly or not being optimized, and I feel like a lot of that group, and I'm not going to say all of them, because not everybody's running a potato for a computer, but some of them may be running a potato, and when I say potato, I'm talking sub-minimal requirement standards. If a game calls for a 3770 and a 650 and you're running a 570 and, a 2600K, I mean, at what point do you just realize that, your computer's kind of a potato and needs to be upgraded? Sure, they work great for games like Battlefield 3 or Diablo 3 even, but I mean, those games were like 7+ years ago. It's time to upgrade.
One of the other things that I feel a lot of people tend to overlook is the minimal system requirements. I mean, they're there for a reason. Ultimately, when a new game comes out and there's a new engine, evidently there's going to be a minimal threshold that you need to be hitting. If a game's calling for a 3770K and 8 gigs of RAM with, let's say, a 660 Ti, and you're running a 2500 with 8 gigs of RAM and, say, a 550 Ti, you're evidently going to run into some issues. So I think really it's important for a lot of gamers to realize that if those specs are higher on the minimal side than what you're running in your system right now, it's probably time to upgrade. And I mean that in the most sincere way, but at the end of the day, you can't get upset at the developers for things like that. Ultimately, that falls on the user, not the developer. And again, I'm not here to pick sides, I'm just playing devil's advocate, and I gotta call it out the way I see it. So, I mean, in closing, again, the ruthlessness from the community, especially from the COD community, is troublesome. That really does bother me. The way they conduct themselves online is a little too extreme and maybe needs to be dialed back a bit. System requirements are there. Windows updates are there. You need to use them. I think everyone needs to follow that to a T, regardless of how bad some of them are. Sometimes that's what it takes to get a game running. Patience is a virtue. don't rush out and buy a game necessarily right at launch. Maybe wait it out a couple weeks, wait till a patch or two have come through, and that way you can jump into it and actually play the game optimized and not half-assed. For the half-assed games that do come out that are half-cooked, as we've talked about, again, I don't think that falls on the developers wholeheartedly. Yes, they do have some hands in there, but ultimately the publisher and those investors are the guys that are going to push that game out for Q4. It's holiday season. We're in Black Friday today officially. So naturally, you want to have those games out there on sale and you want to be pushing big numbers. This is the holiday season. This is where you're going to drive the most amount of those sales. Now, moving on to other things, we talked 2 weeks ago about our giveaway that we were going to be holding via social media, Facebook, Instagram, and of course our YouTube channel. Well, for those of you just joining us today, or tonight, I should say, that contest has begun, and that is officially running until the 24th of December. So if you haven't had a chance to go ahead and enter, we'll leave the links in the description, so you can go ahead and have a chance to win a Spellin Pro gaming headset, powered by Bon Jovi Labs DPS. Now, if you haven't had a chance to check this bad boy out, I'm going to leave a link in the description of a couple promo videos we've done for it, as well as a previous episode in which we actually talk in more detail about what this headset is capable of doing. If you don't believe me, check the video out for yourself, see what's involved. 2 DPS modes in it for both single player and multiplayer modes, which is going to amp up the frequencies to give you better hearing experience when it comes to that cooperative gameplay. And then the vibration modes as well, which really add a nice emphasized bass without sounding like a pop can on a Honda Civic. So, we're going to go ahead and set up that giveaway with you guys with the link in the description. Make sure to enter 2 entries per person. We are being generous this year, and we'll do that draw on Christmas Eve. Now, due to the holiday seasons, I'm not going to make a formal announcement and do a new video for it, but I will leave an Instagram story as well as a Facebook story specifically for the winner, congratulating them, and then we'll be in touch with you guys once the holidays are over so we can get your information and get that mailed out to you ASAP. It's our last episode, so we won't see each other for a couple weeks, but today is Black Friday, so naturally, SADES would be having a Black Friday sale. Go ahead and take a look at Amazon.com/SADES or Amazon.ca/SADES if you live in Canada and get yourself hooked up with our promotional discounts. It's there on Amazon that you'll find a plethora of items on sale with ridiculous discounts. Head on over today, get set up, and use your Prime to get free next day shipping. Well, that's everything. That's it. We're done for the season. I mean, thank you guys for tuning in. It's been an absolute pleasure. With that being said, I hope you all have a fantastic end to your 2019, and we'll be seeing each other again January 3rd for our Season 2 premiere with fresh content and a new layout. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Mikey from SADES TV, wishing you guys an advanced happy holidays.
Whew, man, that was good. I enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun. 5 things I learned from this season. Oh shit. 1, I need a bigger teleprompter that goes over my lens because I tend to look away way too often. Hands down, I need to talk to my optometrist about my glasses and why they're reflective when I had a UV coating and reflective coating put over these bad boys. The glare that comes off the light is atrocious and I can't do anything about it. My video lights just bounce off, man. I'd have to say the computer. I thought the build on the wall would be really sweet up there, and I gotta say, I'm kinda already bored of it from an aesthetic standpoint. I envisioned so much more of a glorious configuration, and it's not there. It's not done. Please look away. Don't look. Growing a YouTube channel is it's an adventurous process. It's definitely not easy work. You've got to put time in, and you only get back what you put into it. So that's obviously deep in my thoughts for next year and what I want to do with season 2. So I'm looking forward to that. Overall, I think. Lastly, I'd like to utilize the casting couch more, and not in that way. No, but just in terms of having more guests on and speaking with more people, I think that'd be really insightful and really fun. So I'm working on a couple things, I'm curating some things for next year. You guys are still here. All right, that's literally it. Just go home. What are you doing in your garage? They're still here. I don't know why they're still watching, but they're still here. I mean, just go shop. Amazon.com/SADES. Go buy lots of headsets. Tell your friends, moms, grandmas, aunts, and uncles. They're not leaving, so I'm getting up. I'm going. I'm out. Shit's done. Go home. Get lives. Out. Turn off the camera.